Hello guys. I spent half of the evening last night trying to figure out how I wanted to create this follow-up video on the latest video I made titled, Let's Talk About Deputy Benfield's and His Body Slamming Antics. Hopefully this video will get people to understand where I'm coming from, basically. Not only that, I want people to understand that I am not going to change my position at all in any way, shape, or form. I do not see a logical reason to change. Hopefully this video can actually provide the answers for you. Now, before I get started, I want to talk about something really quickly. It is something that I do need to get off of my chest. After I made my last video, I have been called a PC liberal fag and a regressive leftist. Why? Because I disagree with opinions and positions that are being pushed forth. One can call me every name in the book. I don't really care. I'm not going to resort to name calling when it comes to a serious discussion that I actually want to have. Do I believe that I am better than people who resort to name calling? No, absolutely not. People have even accused me of being a liar. They have accused me of not knowing what I am talking about, despite the fact that I do have a law enforcement background. The thing is, I do know what I am talking about, and that is why I chose to participate in this discussion. I am not going to sit back and remain quiet any longer. I believe it is time to put that nonsense to rest, actually. I am going to start going after things that I disagree with, and that is all that there is to it. If people don't like it, then that is fine. They are more than welcome to not like it at all. Now that I got all of that out of the way, I want to take a moment to actually talk about the use of force, because there are people out there who do not understand the difference between what I like to call a by-the-book use of force and an excessive amount of force, aka police brutality. A use of force is defined as the use of physical restraint, usually by a member of a law enforcement agency, to gain control of an unruly person or situation. Police brutality is defined as the wanton use of excessive force, usually physical, but also common in forms of verbal attacks and psychological intimidation by a police officer. Widespread police brutality exists in many countries, even those that prosecute it. Now, since we are on the subject of use of force, I'm going to leave two videos in the description down below that I want you guys to take a look at. One of them contains a by the book use of force, and the other contains an excessive amount of force, aka police brutality. The one that contains an excessive amount of force involves the young girl that I talked about in my previous video. The one that contains the by the book use of force is extremely important here, and I want everyone to pay attention to it. The reason why I say that is because of the fact that this video in question obviously contains a far more dangerous situation than the other video. In this video, you have an individual who was in possession of two machetes, one in each hand to be exact. He was threatening to harm himself, and he wanted the police officers to kill him because he was under the assumption that he had nothing to live for. The police officers in this far more dangerous situation handled themselves a lot better than the police officer in the other video who took it upon himself to dump a 16-year-old girl on her head and drag her across the classroom floor like an animal for simply telling him no. I want to make it known that the suspect in the far more dangerous situation had two machetes. The 16-year-old girl in the classroom had a cell phone that she refused to put away. Now, of course, people out there are going to try and spin this into me basically promoting her misbehavior in the classroom. Like I said before, I am not promoting her misbehavior. Again, I am against it. Should she be held accountable for her actions? Yes, but she doesn't deserve an ass beating by a police officer who obviously stepped over the fucking line. Oh yes, there is one more thing that I want to talk about before I go even further. Damn, I am loving the fact that I am making this follow-up video. I have been told at every turn that this young 16-year-old girl was under arrest. If that is the case, the officer should have read her rights. I mean, that is the legal way to go, right? When I watched every fucking video that I could find, I did not hear her rights being read to her. Not only did the police officer break the law by using an excessive amount of force, he broke the fucking law by not reading her rights. The behavior of that officer in the classroom is disgusting, which is why I want to share this next article with you guys from Raw Story. I think that this article does an incredible job in regards to exposing the incompetent approach of not only the officer in question, but Spring Valley High School as well. A post on Twitter by user Damito Joe at Kaya Speaks showed on Thursday how the violent incident at Spring Valley High School, in which a white school safety officer brutalized a teenage black girl, could have gone differently. Well, like I said before in the previous video, guys, despite the fact that this officer has been accused of having a racial bias, I have not seen any evidence for racism. Therefore, I have concluded that racism is not a factor in this incident. The illegal amount of force used is something that I am concerned with here. A former co-worker just shared this, wrote Damita Joe. This is how good teachers respond to what happened at hashtag Spring Valley High. The post said, about 90 minutes ago, I was observed by my principal. A student had his phone out. I asked him quietly to put his phone away, basically. He told me that he couldn't. I immediately thought about the situation. I asked him if he was okay. He told me no and burst into tears. He walked out of the room. I contemplated following him. I was being observed after all. I followed my heart though. The young man's brother was killed last night. I told him to write me a letter and express all his pain and use whatever words he wanted to express. He did it and I wrote back. It took me 2 minutes. When I walked out today, he said, I love you, Mrs. Turner Swift. Thanks for listening to me. I really only gave him maybe 5 minutes of my time. That's all he needed. That's why I teach. So, what happened at Spring Valley High School, guys? I will tell you what happened. The school staff did not take into consideration that the young 16-year-old girl probably wasn't in her right frame of mind. She lost her grandmother. She also lost her mother. She is also living in a foster home. They did not attempt to try and talk to her or do anything else for that matter. Instead, they sent in the big and bad officer who I think had no business interfering in this type of matter. It is the staff's responsibility to deal with this matter appropriately. They failed, and as a result of this fail, a young 16-year-old girl paid the price. So when will the abuse of power stop? I am not sure. I can only hope that there is better training in the future. The safety of children needs to be a primary concern. If it is not, then things like this will continue to happen and children will suffer. And that is all that I have to say about this subject. So feel free to share this video with anyone that might be interested, whether it be on Facebook, Google+, Tumblr, Reddit, Yahoo, or wherever you guys hang out. Till next time, the Quiet Atheist is out. And remember, if you can't be good at it. Most of all, thank you for watching, and I will see you next video. And I think that it's pretty safe to say that I'm going to close the book on this subject, since there's nobody out there who is willing to have an actual conversation with me at all.